to the Work Your Money podcast, the show where we talk about the best ways for you to use your money. Basically, what we do is we give perspectives and insights where we get guests that are entrepreneurs and business owners. And it doesn't matter if they have a hot dog stand or if they're the CEO of a corporation. We are host Michelle Wong and
co-host Willie Morales. And our topic that we want to bring to you every week is basically interviewing and learning about how these entrepreneurs got their start. It's important to know how did they get their money, where did they go to get their money, did they go to friends and family, stuff like that, which is important because this is how you learn how to start a business. And Michelle and I, who are in business right now, not only in real estate, but we also got a podcast business and we also got a media business going on. Right, Michelle?
Yes, of course. Definitely not easy, but it is a transition. It's a journey and it's a learning experience.
And we learn every day.
And we learn every day. We learn from our mistakes and, every day it is different from the other. And basically from that experience, we move forward and we try to do something better.
And you hit it right on the head. You try to learn something new every day about the business. You read, you look at videos, you go to school. It all comes down to trying to, as much as you get educated, but no matter what, you still have to do it on the field.
Well, there's two technicalities to getting a business going. It's knowledge and experience. One cannot live without the other. Knowledge is basically getting some type of education, reading up on books, maybe going to one or two meetups, meet up with other people that
some seminars,
or have a mentor, and basically getting the experience. You cannot have the knowledge and then just think automatically
you're going to become an investor.
Yes, you basically have to go out and physically do it to gain your experience, even if you do make mistakes, and you learn from it, and then you can carry on and now know what works and what doesn't.
And by being on the field, you'll get that. It doesn't matter if you make a mistake because you should learn from it. You can't just not be out there. You can read as many books as you want. You got to take action, and you're going to make a mistake, and that's part of life. And at Work Your Money, we try to minimize those mistakes so you won't make them like we did. As we go on further through the shows, we'll have entrepreneurs and business owners that we're going to look to interview. And basically, on occasion, Michelle and I will interview each other on how we started. Right, Michelle?
Yes, and that's going to be an interesting topic.
Pretty much, yeah, exactly. Because we both came from pretty much different backgrounds in terms of where we started and having great partners.
We have to emphasize partners there.
Yeah, we're quoting it, not even a good quote.
That can be an experience all on its own. It's going to be a different discussion.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Michelle, did you get the chance to look at the article I sent to you today? It was about daily rich habits that the rich go through.
Yes, I did.
What you thought about it?
It was very, very interesting. It kind of parallels what I'm doing now.
What I liked about it was if you focus on these habits, listen, we're not guaranteed you're going to be rich, right, Michelle? We're not guaranteed anything. But I think you'll have a better perspective on life and your finances if you follow these habits that the rich do daily.
Yeah, it would be self-improvement.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's something
you can never go wrong with self-improvement.
Yes, self-improvement. Maybe I think that this is more of a ritual that I, myself, you, anybody else would get into a habit.
Exactly.
And interesting that they say that if you get into a habit and you follow that habit for 30, I don't think it's 30 days.
I heard
60.
21 to 30, or then I heard also 60. I guess it depends.
The average is about 60 days, 60 to 90 days.
Because then it becomes a daily...
Yes, it becomes a habit.
A habit, which you don't even have to do I have to read today? Do I have to do my exercise today? Because it's going to come
It becomes
natural.
automatic.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's very interesting because at one point I was reading a lot of psychology books. And one of the things that they do say, and even someone like Napoleon Hill has mentioned in one of his books, I can't recall.
Think and Grow Rich?
I think it might be that one, where he discusses that you have to go into a habit, and if you're going into a good habit, you have to follow through daily for 60 to 90 days in order for your brain to be able to respond to that and become automatic, which is very interesting. And I think that's true, because if we get into, for me anyway, if I get into a bad habit, it just stays a bad habit.
And then you got to recognize that you're doing a bad habit.
Yeah.
That's the tough part, because you don't know if you're doing it until one day you're like, wait a minute, I'm watching too much TV. And that's, to me, that's the killer, is the TV. Unless you're watching it for educational purposes.
I don't even know what is going on with TV. I don't even watch the news. That's how sad it is. I don't want to hear about the bad stuff that's going on. But, yeah, you're right. I think that watching too much TV, reality show, all of that gossip stuff, it's not productive. It's not productive. It's taking away from what your focus is. You have to have your mindset tuned into something that is going to improve yourself.
So what's like one habit? You could just name one or two or three, whatever. Like what's like your I shouldn't say favorite habit, but what is a habit that you pretty much do naturally, and you're like, oh, I don't need to read about this. I know what I gotta do. I don't need to look at my goals, because I know my goals by heart.
Well, one thing is that I naturally like to read a lot of books. Mm-hmm. I have a very eclectic mindset, I guess. It's not specific to one or the other, but naturally I'm drawn to psychology books. I think it's just a natural thing for me.
Right.
And I see, behavior, why people behave a certain way. If someone has a traumatic experience, that's going to cause them to have a reaction. It all makes sense to me when I'm reading it, and it clicks. So when I see other books that are kind of like the umbrella under that, it kind of paints a big picture, and I can understand that.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because you and I have been to a few seminars, especially in 2015. We went almost 2 or 3 times a week.
Yeah.
How many times did we meet people that they were life coaches, and these guys were like 25, 28, 29 years old? And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I don't see, and personally, I'm talking about personally now, how you could be a life coach at that young of an age when you still got, 15 to 20 years of more experience to get. I don't know. That kind of bothered me when I hear that. I'm talking about from my perspective. I mean, and for people out there, I hope you don't get offended, but if you're a life coach and you're 25 to 28, 29 years old, I'm in my 50s. I could be a life coach because I could say, hey, I've gone through these scenarios.
You can't discriminate on age because
you're right,
because
unfortunately,
everybody's experiences are not the same.
I understand that, but I have to say that it does bother me when someone's that young and they're a life coach already. That's me. I'm not speaking for anybody else, people. I'm just speaking for myself.
Life coaches is not so much the experience. Life coach is basically a person that has some sense of organization skills, insight, and they take that and they map out or help that person get to where they need to go. That's what a life coach is. And it doesn't have to be necessarily an experience, that person has X amount of experience under their belt. It's more of being structured. Like psychologically, they know what needs to be done in order for you to execute that. And if they have their stuff in order and they know how to execute it, they would be able to give you a blueprint of what to follow.
And I understand that. I just find it, for me personally, like if a life coach is in their 40s, 50s, 60s, I'm going to take them more seriously. And I think I know where you're going with this, but I'm just saying that's just how I feel. I hate to say that I won't take the young people serious. Listen, I know they're working towards their degrees and all that, but I guess you could call it age. What's the word?
Age discrimination.
Yeah, because I would probably gravitate to someone that's been there.
Yeah, but that's
it's
where,
like
but that's where I'm going to play devil's advocate.
No,
on
no,
this.
and I understand
There's
that.
some 50 or 60-year-olds that have not lived their life and they have not gained experience. They're so attuned to having a set way and they have not experienced life to that extent.
No, but I'm saying
someone that has, is half their age.
No, I understand that, but I'm just saying that I'm going to go to a coach that's 40, 50, 60 years old. Not just a regular person. No, I'm going to go to a coach that's been there. You know what I'm saying? I understand what you're saying. Yeah, I know some people that are in their mid to late 40s that, pretty much, as we talk about daily habits, my friend's daily habit is watching Game of Thrones. Sorry, people, I got nothing against Game of Thrones, but and he's watching Married at First Sight, and really.
Well, each person doesn't have
I know
have
a set. That's just my pet peeve.
No, I completely understand it, and I myself can't understand why people get into this whole reality show and they get into drama. And believe me, if I want to get some laughs and giggles, I'll watch a reality show, and that will make my day or evening. If I come home upset or something like that, I'll watch it for a few, and then I'm feeling better. But overall, one of the things that I think is very essential, especially when you're getting into a new habit and you're trying to refocus your life, and if you're getting into starting a business, is have a budget and live within your means. And
I know, I agree. I think, speaking for myself, when I go out to dinner or if I'm going out with friends,
I'm not even going to say that.
No, but I'm just saying. I'm just saying. No. I'm just saying though that I'll, maybe I'll pick up the tab or something like that, and all of a sudden, you're spending.
To cut expenses.
Yeah, and that's one of it. And that's one of it. Yeah, and that's one of it.
But you know what? That's the reason why you don't see me as often to a lot of these events, because I pick and choose the events that I want to go to. I think about, okay, you know what? I'm kind of low on cash right now because I'm looking at purchasing a new laptop for our future podcast, or having that nice laptop to do business stuff for our company.
No, I agree.
So I have to pick and choose what my end goal is, because I know that and I'm not trying to be selfish in a sense, but also I have to think of the end result. I have to sacrifice a little bit of myself so that I can put something forward for our company, so that we can, keep it going and expanding it. So
and living within your means is
so that means
it's so important.
So that basically means that
you're not going out that much.
I don't go out that much. And as much as you were telling me about the Latino group, and listen, I love my Latinos. I have a lot of respect. I'm, part Latina. I understand and all of that, and I have a lot of praise and respect for the people of the community. And there's other meetup groups that you're always inviting me out, but I just look at the money.
No, and I understand
and the expenses because it's like
I'm doing the same thing.
It's like living and on top of that, living in New York, traveling to go and meet with clients or projects or driving out or this and that. It takes a toll. So,
I think too, with living below your means, and one of the ways I had to change my habit into for me, a success habit, I keep tabs on what I spend daily. Even if I buy a candy bar and I put it on my phone, and then at the end of the month, I put it on a spreadsheet on a Google Docs. And, I might spend, especially last year when we were going to these events, I was way over my personal budget. Because we went to these events and $10 here, $15 there.
Did you see?
And we stopped it this year. We got to a couple of events and pretty much.
Yeah, I said
it's crazy.
Later.
Yeah, and people, ladies and gents, those fees add up. $10 at this door, $20 at that door. And then, if you're leaving after work and you can't go home to eat, you got to go, to the event.
Well,
you're going to buy dinner now. So you're spending breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah,
you're spending $30, $40 depending on what you get.
You need to basically be smart about it. If you know that this is going to be a business, then you have to take whatever your expenses are, and if it's business related, then obviously you can put it towards a tax deduction. So if you have that,
check with your CPA. But
yeah,
we're not lawyers here, but
you accumulate the receipts.
Yeah,
and if you show that you were at a meeting or if you went to a meetup and it was business related, then obviously you can write it off. So that's one perk right there. But overall, if you're going to be spending, you have to budget your expenses for your rent,
and keep
or
exactly,
the food that you spend, or the transportation, and try not to start spending more than what you make. Like charging up your credit cards, or just being reckless about it. That's basically, you have to kind of think of what is your goal, what you want to do in the long run, and cut back on what you're doing. You have to sacrifice on the expenses, your personal expenses, so that you can move forward with your business if you want to move that forward.
Another habit that I besides the money spending, that's the biggest one. Another thing that I changed over the last 5 to 6 years, 7 years was read. I read a lot. But on my end, I'm reading a lot of financial books, biographies on business people. I'm a big YouTube fan, and when I tune into YouTube, it's because I'm looking for a biography. For instance, about a year or two ago, they stopped this. Was Bloomberg Television used to have on Saturdays a show called Bloomberg Game Changers. And they'll interview or have, I guess, an unauthorized biography on a Mark Cuban or Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, and it just goes on and on. And I love watching those biographies because they talk about how these guys started, and and they read, and I love reading about them. And that's so important for me, is reading about that. I'm more of a visual person, so I like reading and watching than listening.
They read, but they're also motivated. They're very determined people, and that sets them apart from everybody else. And a lot of them came from a very humble beginning. So some of them didn't go to college. Others, they had a 9-to-5 job, or they had a smaller job. It's not, working at retail or working at a McDonald's, or, they came from that type of beginnings, and they had that determination, that drive. For me, I don't know about you, but when I see that, I said, you know what, if they can do it, I know I can do it. And if I can do it, the next person behind me can do it. So
you gotta sacrifice, and it's all dedication.
Yeah,
and if you don't have that, you're not gonna get into business. And if you want to do your 9-to-5, hey, more power to you. We're not saying you have to be a business person. You can do both. But you can do both.
You can do both.
But you see, a lot of people don't, because they're afraid to take that risk.
Yeah, but you can do both, and I'm not encouraging anybody to say, okay, I quit and I'm going to do this.
No,
if you have a cushion to fall back on and you have a little bit of wiggle room, then yes, I can say, okay, go for that deep leap and go into working into that, into what your passion is, or that business that you want to open up. But don't do it on a whim. You have to put a little bit of thought into it. And one of the other things that I think, apart from the whole reading aspect of it, I'm a very big advocate about reading. You always read something interesting. There's always an interesting article that that can help you out with anything that you're doing. So the whole internet surfing, I have mixed reviews on. Internet surfing is more useful when you're doing research. If you're looking to do something specific.
And I'm a big YouTube guy. When I'm looking at real estate information, looking for real estate information, I'm on YouTube. Now, I'm not saying that these gurus that are on there are 100% accurate, because they basically want to, sell their product, some of them. But it's pretty good use of time if you're doing it for educational purposes.
Yeah,
I don't care. I'll do Google and all that, and which I do.
Google is good to do solid research, just to know if there's other companies that have gone through the process. Then that I can understand that. And YouTube, I watch a lot of YouTube as well. One of the reasons why I watch YouTube is a good platform for putting yourself out there in the social media. It's like the new way of having like a kind of like a TV show without really having it.
Yeah,
a channel. Exactly. You can upload your videos. So I'm always learning about that, because that's like the new trend. And you know how I am about the whole.
Yeah, she's anyway. You'll see her. She wants to be on TV, and she wants to be, she wants to be famous. I'm just kidding.
Famous.
But she definitely wants to, have our show on simulcast one day, which I guess will be fine. I guess I have to have a lot of makeup eventually. Another rich habit that I do every day is set goals. Pretty much I have a book on goals, and I write out what I want to do with them. Like I want to have an investment property, and this is how I'm going to go about it. A, B, C, and D. The Tony Robbins's, Jim Rohn's, Jack Canfield, these guys are like professional motivational speakers, but they all say the same thing. Set goals. And
setting goals is what keeps you in that path.
Yeah.
When I set goals and I complete them, it kind of gives you that adrenaline rush, and you say, okay, now that I completed this, now let me go and up it and do something else and see if I can set that and achieve it. And the other thing too is that by setting goals, you're mentally organizing yourself, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah,
because I'm one that I have to have my structure, be organized and keep everything on point. And if I don't have that, it kind of derails from what I'm trying to do. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm OCD on that. So.
No, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
Michelle, this is a topic that's near and dear to your heart. Besides your dreams and goals and spending and not spending, all that stuff comes in handy. The thing that doesn't come in handy is toxic people. I mean, these are people that are basically dream stealers. They're going to say why you can't do it, even though they never try to do it. And I had that done to me.
The negative.
No, but I'm just saying, about 7 or 8 years ago, I had left this job that I was in for a long time to become a real estate agent. Unfortunately, I went in at the wrong time when the market crashed a few months later. But you know what? It was one of the best experiences I ever had. And I had a couple of people tell me, if I was you, I wouldn't do it. You got the steady paycheck. Unfortunately, after that, the crash, I worked in this real estate firm for 8 months. I had to get a real job. But you know what? It got me out of my pattern, Michelle. It got me, you get stuck in that box of going home, going to work, doing the menial stuff.
It becomes tedious.
Oh, my God. And I hated it. The last couple of years at this job, I hated it. Didn't hate the people, but I just hated the situation I was in.
That's how I was about a year ago.
But anyway.
I went through the same exact thing. I just, it got to the point that it became repetitious. The employer that I worked for, I have nothing against him or anything, but the way he was running things and the way that everything was just kind of like falling apart. I just kind of feel
so
like
he was toxic on.
No, it wasn't that he was toxic. It was just that he was overly ambitious and he wanted to expand his practice, and he wanted to do this, and he wanted to do that, but it's just that he was all over the place. And when you're all over the place, the money has to be there as well if you're going to be doing all of these projects. And you wear yourself thin, it starts to fall apart. And when people are advising you not to do something and you want to do it anyway, you have to walk away from it. Yeah. And, you dealing with a toxic person, it can drain the life out of you. And, especially if you have close friends, family. When
that happens, you better get new friends.
Yeah.
Maybe keep them
at a distance.
Yeah.
Keep it at a distance. Because you have the ones that, I don't know about you, but I know that I have these. You have like the really dramatic people.
Yeah, you tell me.
They start telling you every, drama. I call it novella. They have like this whole soap opera thing going on and this and that and everything. And then it kind of takes a toll on you. So,
it does.
And I said, okay, you know what? This is my cue to leave. I love you at a distance, and let's just keep it that way.
So there you go. And you know who these people are once you decide to get into business or just in general in life. You'll know. And you still got the people that tend to gossip and talk bad about other people because, believe me, the more you stay around these people,
yeah, but you know how you can resolve that problem? You replace these toxic people
with new friends
by going to networking events.
Yeah.
And basically go to these networking events. I advise you to go to the free ones or go to, the ones that are cost efficient, the ones that are $5, $10 to get in. And you get to mingle with people, like-minded people, and the energy is completely different because those people have the same, they're going to have the same
mentality that you have.
Yeah, they have the same set goals that you do. So being in that type of environment,
that's a huge, huge plus. And Jim Rohn, you can look him up, people. Google him or go to YouTube. It's Jim, and his last name is spelled Rohn. One of my heroes. Too bad I never got to see him in person. But he said, or I heard him say, that you're the average of the 5 people you hang out with. If you look at the 5 people you hang out with, you jot them down, and if they want to go to movies, you're going to go. If they want to go clubbing, you're going to want to go. Just think about that.
But that's also where they also say your net worth is your net worth.
Exactly.
And that's absolutely true. Having someone that is a couple of levels above you that's already doing what you're doing and they're already at that level, you're inspired to reach that level or even surpass it. So being with people that are intellectually more advanced as you or they're more successful as you, you have that drive and you say, you know what, I want to be like that person, or I want to exceed that person. And not in a bad way, but exceeding in the sense that you have that drive and that ambition to move up in the ladder.
Another, I guess the biggest one that we could come up with is don't ever give up. If we all go through rough patches, personally, and I told this to Michelle when I met her about a year and a half ago. Financially, I was down the drain. I co-signed a loan for business idea that my niece and my brother-in-law had in mind. Well, fast forward, I'm not going to get into the details. I ended up being stuck at $50,000 that I owed, but I never gave up. I was told to go into bankruptcy, file for bankruptcy. You should do this, file bankruptcy. I kept on hearing from a few people. Every other word was bankruptcy. I did not file bankruptcy. Believe me, Michelle, that would have been the worst thing I ever did if I would have filed for bankruptcy. Because that would have bothered me more. That would have been on my record for, I take it personally as for years. They say, after 7 or 8 years.
Yes, about 7 or 8 years. It gets lifted.
Mentally, that would have been with me the rest of my life. And I didn't want to go through that. So don't ever give up. You're going to go through bad patches. Find other people that you can work with. Michelle, what do you think about that?
There's a saying in one thing that I can say from what I'm reading on biographies from very successful people like Oprah Winfrey, Steve Jobs, they had to hit rock bottom in order for them to get to the top. They had doors closed before they had a door open. And they were in different stages of life that made them fall to the very bottom, and then they rose up. They rose up like a phoenix.
Everybody goes through it.
And everybody goes through that. You have your ups and downs. If life was perfect, we wouldn't have that, that drive. It would be so easy for us.
Yeah,
but
we don't have to get out of bed to do anything.
Some of us have that drive to move forward, and that's why, and another thing too is that in order for you to succeed, you need to know what your failures are. And sometimes you have to go through those failures.
And know your failures.
And
for me,
and know what how to move forward from it.
I don't know if you had any, Michelle, but like for me was financial. After that happened, but I'm just saying though, right? But I'm just saying after that,
it was a combination of a few factors.
Right. The financial part of it, I had to learn about finances, and
for me it was a combination of things. It was a combination of family, friends, work, a little bit of financial. So the combination of everything kind of took a toll. But then I had to reflect on it. I really had to sit there and kind of see what I needed to do to get out of that pattern and then move forward. So right. I'm in a happy place right now. And the other thing too that I think is very important is you have to be on top of your game. You cannot let things pass you by. You cannot procrastinate. You can't leave things until the last minute because in the blink of an eye,
and that's bad.
In the blink of an eye, it's gone. And
and I work hard on that every day.
It's very essential to be on top. Yeah. And you know what? I'm not so much in a issue with procrastination because I'm OCD with that. I like to do things on top. But then again, that was instilled in me from my dad. My dad is very notorious of, doing things. And he says, don't leave anything what you can do today for tomorrow because you know what tomorrow can bring you. And I'm working on that. Yep. That's exactly true.
Again, and that's by you doing your daily habits. You'll avoid that eventually. You have to look at your goals a couple of times a day. And if you feel lost, get a mentor. And you can meet them pretty much, I'm not going to say anywhere, but if you're in the business field or want to get into the business field, or basically if you're a 9 to 5, you can find a mentor either at your job, networking events. Jim Rohn was my mentor in terms of personal development, and Tony Robbins, but I never met them. I just read their books, look at their videos, listen, and listen. Right, Michelle? There's nothing wrong with having I won't say a fantasy mentor that I never met, like a Tony Robbins or so, but you read their books and listen to their audio.
Well, that's the thing. Audiobooks. Their role. That's what they do. That's what they do as a passion. And Tony Robbins is one that he does it because he enjoys to do it. He had a mentor when he first started out,
which is Jim Rohn. That was his mentor.
And through him, he got a lot of insight. He learned how to change your mindset, and once you change that mindset and you are focused and you know what you want, what your purpose in life is, and how to obtain it,
you can do it.
Everything changes.
Yeah,
and that's one of the things you have to just every day put your mind into that habit, and once that habit kicks in, it just becomes second nature.
Yeah.
It's like you doing like anything else in your daily routine. And the difference is that you're substituting a bad habit for a good habit.
For a good habit, yeah. As we're about to close the show, Michelle, there's a book I want to recommend. And it's funny because we talked about not going above spending your means. So there's a book I like. It's called Secret of the Millionaire Mind. It's by T. Harv Eker. Letter T, H-R-V, Eker. I think he spells it E-C-K-E-R. But he talks about having jars for your money. In other words, You have a jar to spend, a jar for education, a jar for charity, a jar for investing. But you could do it through the bank, where you could set a percentage of your money going into these accounts, and you're not going to miss it. You can live, if you really focus on your daily expenses, you could probably live on maybe 85% of your money. That's what I've been doing, Michelle. I've been doing that now for the last 6 years. And you don't miss the money. And believe me, people, get this book. We're not affiliates. We're not getting paid, but it's a book that it's pretty much almost got me out of financial difficulty. I still have a little bit of bills left, but compared to what I had 5-6 years ago, I can knock it out by the end of the year. So that's a book I recommend. T. Harv Eker's Secrets of the Millionaire Mind.
Very interesting, very insightful, and I am going to be getting that book myself and reading it. I want to incorporate that, but not on my personal finances, but on the business finances.
Yeah.
Because God knows we have so many things that we have to, put money here, put money there. But if we have it leveled out and we have little jars for everything that we have and have it structured and organized, then, we can move on to the next phase of our business journey. That's the end of the Work Your Money podcast for today. And if you are an entrepreneur or a business owner and you know how to work your money, we would like to have you as a guest on our show.
Give us a call. Let us know that you're interested in being interviewed. Call us at 347-709-4559 and visit our websites, thewymgroup.com. That's WYMgroup.com. And on the real estate side, visit onewillpropertiesllc.com. That's all spelled out. That's all one word. onewillpropertiesllc.com. Come and visit us. Leave us a message that you want to be, that you're a business owner, and we'll interview you.
Okay, guys, until the next time, I bid you a good evening.
Good night.